Hello everyone. So today I decided to make a video about latch-up and oscillators. So we all might have seen this term when we read about content of oscillators. They mention something about the circuits latching up. So what I view latch-up as, I think of latch-up as a condition in the circuit when all the node potentials either reach to the lowest supply of the circuit or they reach to the highest supply of the circuit. That is basically they reach the supply rails, all the nodes in the circuit, right? DC wise. So such a condition is not desirable for oscillations, and hence this needs to be avoided. So what are the conditions in which a circuit latches up? So the condition under which a circuit latches up is pretty interesting. So let's say we have a feed forward block and a feedback amplifier and a feedback gain of beta. Okay, and let's say this is adding up. So the loop gain of this is A beta at DC. And since these are frequency independent, I would like to express this as A0 times B0. So now latching up will happen when the DC potential will keep growing. Okay, it will keep growing or it will keep diminishing such that it hits either the lower rail or the upper rail. All right, so let's say we start off at this node. Okay, let's say this node has a DC potential of X, okay, or V for that matter. So this will have a DC inversion because the DC gain of a common source stage is negative. So if this is V, then this will, let's say this is a DC perturbation, then this will be in the opposite direction. So this will be minus delta V times some gain of the circuit, which is GM1RD for low frequencies. And now this is applied the gate of M2, so this node will be A square times delta V square, and this is fed back directly to this node. So this node will go to 1 plus A square times delta V. Now a very important thing to note is all this is happening at DC. Okay, this is not happening at some finite frequency, this is happening at zero frequency. Delta V is a DC perturbation. Alright, so if we by chance have any DC perturbation at this node, that is brought back even stronger by the feedback by a factor of A square, and this just keeps going on and on until this hits the rail and this hits the bottom rail. Okay, so this is what will happen to the circuit, and thus the circuit will latch up. So the best thing to see whether a circuit is latching up or not is to see whether the circuit has 0 degrees of phase margin at DC. Okay, a negative phase margin would also work in my opinion, but I think all the major circuits that latch up have 0 degrees of phase margin. So the DC gain of the circuit is having a phase of 360 degrees. So without a negative feedback it is 180 degrees, and hence it will have 0 degrees of phase margin. Okay, this is with respect to negative feedback. So you will have to account for the extra 180 degree phase for this abstraction over here. So this will have 360 minus 180, which would be 180 degrees, implying a 0 degrees phase margin. Okay, so thus this circuit will latch up. This node will reach to VDD, this node will reach to ground, this node will reach to VDD, and thus the circuit is useless because any DC perturbation will make the circuit of no use. So now this is one case. The other standard case is a ring oscillator with even number of inverters. So this circuit also latches up. The reason is simple. If you have a DC perturbation of delta V, this will be minus A delta V. Then this will be A square delta V. This will be A cube minus A cube delta V. and the final hit will be a power 4 delta V. That will add up to this delta V, making this 1 plus a power 4 delta V, and this will go on until this and this nodes hit to the supply, and this nodes hit to the ground. So all the nodes in the circuit have reached the rails. So this circuit is also expected to latch up. And the best check that we can have for the circuit, as a proof of this circuit that it will latch, is but we can just inspect the loop gain of the circuit. The loop gain of the circuit can be found out by checking A beta at DC. So we can just evaluate this expression. So at DC we can see that there are even number of inversions, so the loop gain at DC is 360. We'll subtract the 180 to incorporate for the negative sign, and the margin at DC will be 0 for this circuit. So this circuit will also have 0 degrees of PM at DC. So if the circuit has 0 degrees of phase margin at DC, it implies that the circuit will oscillate, because 0 degree phase margin means oscillation, but the oscillations will be at DC. So it means that instead of having oscillations at some finite frequency between the supply and rail, you will have the same oscillations, because the phase margin is 0 degrees, so the system should oscillate. But the thing is, the time period of this oscillation is infinite, because the frequency is 0, because the phase margin is 0 at DC. Okay, so a way to look at it is the time period will be infinity, so it will be either VDD or it will be 0, depending on the initial phase of the oscillation. So that is what we mean when we say that the circuit will latch up. So latch up can be viewed, in my opinion, as oscillations happening at DC, because the phase margin is 0 at DC. So the potentials at every node will remain at VDD or ground. So latch-up can be viewed as oscillations at DC. So the check is naturally to check whether the phase margin of the system is 0 degrees at DC. So the system should have a positive feedback at DC for the circuit to latch up. So yeah, thank you for watching.